It's obvious that Her Majesty is quite the tea fancier, if this blend is anything to go by. The fragrance, the temperature, the taste, I'd be hard-pressed to find fault with any of it. I've always been more of a coffee man myself, but I have no doubt that I'd be content with a cup of this at my desk each morning. As much as I agree with you, I don't believe we're here to talk about beverages. So, shall we get right to the point? What did you want to discuss with me? Haha, I see your sojourn in Liberl has proven most fruitful. Pardon? When we last spoke, you struck me as a bright, flexible young man. And no doubt you still are, but now I see you in a resilient inner strength, girding those aspects. I'm sure His Majesty will be... Excuse me, oh my word. I'm sure His Majesty will be most delighted with your personal development. Meanwhile, I see you're the same fearless man I've always known you to be. More so even, that crushing aura about you seems to have only grown this time. It's as if you feed on the resentment of those who live in the territories you annex. Haha, such harsh words, Your Highness. Oh! Annex. That word. I'm not gonna say anything for the sake of spoilers, but I have a complete association of what that means in the future of Trails in my head. Personally, I prefer the term political unification. Annex can carry such negative connotations, you know. Since the end of the 100 Days War, our army hasn't committed a single act of aggression. All of our unifications have been entirely peaceful. Oh, you're quite right about that. On the surface. Oh. It's amazing how similar the annexation process is every single time it happens. It starts with a small nation or independent state with an array of problems beyond repair. Those problems start to worsen, after which Jaegers and other dangerous elements enter, plunging public order to an all-time low. Desperate for a solution, the local government requests the help of the Imperial Army. Before they know it, they're part of the Empire. Well, it's not as though I can deny what you're saying. Each instance does share certain commonalities, words. Still, it's to be expected an inevitable consequence of the age of unchecked growth and progress in which we live. The Imperial Army is simply acting in the Empire's best interest, helping to stabilize our neighbors for the good of the Empire. And it's understandable that they would. I do find myself rather curious why Intelligence Division members are going to such nations with such a peculiar frequency. Well, before the problems I described worsen, no less. I won't press as to where you came by such information, as curious as I am. But I will say this, at its most basic level, these actions are about risk management. It's because we've been acting to minimize such risks beforehand that the army has been able to successfully quell each problem in turn. With the small price of earning the disdain of the people in those nations and an increased risk of terrorism in exchange. To tell you the truth, I'm rather astounded that you had the courage to come here to Liberl all on your own to begin with. After all, you made yourself the biggest target for terrorists in all of Erebonia. Haha, your concern is touching, Your Highness. I would ask that you not trouble yourself with my safety. I employ some very skilled subordinates tasked primarily with eliminating the risk of attacks against me. Oh, you watch your back, Osborne. That's all I'll say. Really now? That Lecter is one of those, I assume. Haha, a rather peculiar fellow, isn't he? But a very useful one all the same. Working out the scheduling for this trip and taking all the necessary precautions to ward off terrorist threats were both his doing. And thanks to his commendable efforts, I can depart for Crossbell free from worries as soon as I finish my business here. Crossbell? Are you surprised? I'll be participating in a top-secret discussion with a representative of the Crossbell government. Recently, a large amount of funding has been flowing into the country through Republican channels, putting our allies on the defensive. I'd always meant to visit at some point, and this seemed the perfect opportunity. Are you out of your mind? Crossbell's full of enemies and different factions at each other's throats. I hear it's now even a hotbed for terrorists and criminal organizations because of its position at a buffer state. Does that really sound like a place the Erebonian Chancellor should be going even on an unofficial visit? I'm surprised to hear you advocating caution in the face of potential danger, Your Highness. After all, it was you who flew onto an ancient city at great risk to your own safety, and returned unharmed after surveying it. Compared to such rousing risk-taking, my visit to Crossbell would be child's play. As I'm sure you're aware, you're regarded as something of a hero back in Erebonia. To see a hero make a grand return befitting his newly minted legend and aboard the famous Arsile, no less. Naturally, our hero has also taken the time to ensure that every well-known newspaper and magazine are aware of his homecoming too. Though I have no doubts that your triumphant arrival will be every bit as glorious as it have played out in your imaginations, Your Highness. Do be sure to capitalize on this chance as best you can to build yourself a firm foothold. I expect great things from you after all. Is that Sieg? I know that Scree anywhere. Hey, buddy. I was taking a drink of seltzer. You haven't changed a bit, huh? Squeak, 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 squeak. Really? Sounds like a ton's happened, huh? But it's nice to see you and your master are doing alright. Squeak! Lecter? Oh, you guys get to talk again at least. This is a nice, continuation, technically speaking, because at the end of Chloe's door, Lecter and Chloe, Lecter just left and they never got to talk, but I guess this is a resolution to that, to a sense. Well, good day to you, Your Highness. I pray I'm not causing any trouble by taking a tour of the castle like this. The view from this terrace certainly is beautiful, isn't it? What happened to you, Lecter? How did you end up working for Chancellor Osborne? I'm sorry I haven't but the faintest idea what you mean. Are you perchance mistaking me for someone else? Your name is Lecter Arundel. You were the student council president at Janus Royal Academy, which you attended before leaving suddenly 2 years ago. So no, I'm not mistaking you for someone else. Ah, but that's where you're wrong, because my name is actually Lecterondel. I certainly see how our names could become mixed up, however. They are scarily close. Still, now you know. Please just call me Lec. Don't try and joke around with me, Lecter. Do you have any idea how worried all of us were when you disappeared without a word? You submitted your notice to leave the academy, and then you were never seen again. Even otherwise calm Leo let out a cry of anger when he found out. And all Lucy could do was give a sad smile and say, "This is just like him," the whole time with tears in her eyes. Nova, were you talking about Jirai? That sounds familiar, but no. Jirai sounds really familiar. I think that's something in... What was Jirai again? That's definitely a Cold Steel term, but I forgot. I can't, place what that is. But I know that's a Cold Steel thing. But no, I was not talking about that. And the reason why I cut myself off is because I'm trying to be I'm being as vague as possible, assuming people have not played anything after the Sky Game. Also, part of what I was thinking was somewhat, it's like a spoiler for Cold Steel 2. Some of it was like Cold Steel 1, some of it is from Cold Steel 2. Jill and Hans were heartbroken, and so was I. Yet after all that, after all this time, you finally show yourself knowing full well that I'm here, and this is how you act? By pretending you're someone else? Haha. Lecter. Sorry, no need for the scary glare. You're still taking things way too seriously. Looks like it'll take more than stepping up as a crown princess to change that part of you. But you know, seeing you makes me feel kind of relieved. I always figured if someone like you became crown princess, you'd have virtually no freedom to do any other work. But from all that's reached my ears, it sounds like you're actually doing alright for yourself. And you even made some great new friends after I left the academy, didn't you? Nice. I sure did. Nonetheless, it's thanks to you I was able to change it all. You were the one who gave me the first push in the right direction. I never got the chance to thank you properly after you left. But all this time, I've always been grateful to you. Well, consider me honored. Do I get a kiss in return? You do not. I may feel respect towards you, but nothing romantic. Aw, that's a bummer. There was me all taken in by how pretty you've become, wondering if this could be the start of something downright magical. And what happened instead? My dreams of romance and sweet smooches are crushed to nothing before they can even begin. I know you don't mean a word of that, you know. You're looking very sharp yourself, though. It's surprising to see. Every time I've seen you before today, it was in that heavily frayed uniform worn in the most sloppy way imaginable. I think you'll find I was merely making a fashion statement. That wasn't laziness or slobbishness. Every part of it was carefully calculated and considered but maximum effect. Scary thing is, I actually believe you. You always seemed as if you cared for nothing but having fun and causing trouble, yet when it came down to it, you were wise beyond your years. I finally seen part of the reason behind that today. I'll ask you again, Lecter. How'd you end up working for Chancellor Osborne like this? Just what happened to you between your submitting your notice to leave the academy and now? Oh, you're not gonna tell us. Do you now? I have to admit, I never imagined that would be the case. On the contrary, I was expecting you to tell me to back off. Oh, adios forbid. What reason would I have to suggest such a thing? After all, at the end of the day, our positions are functionally the same. I'm not sure I understand. Do you not think so? Personally, I find it difficult to believe that you would not harbor some hatred toward Erebonia as it is today. A grand empire clinging to the glories of a bygone era, ruled by the nobility and shackled by meaningless conventions. Am I wrong? People call me Blood and Iron Chancellor, as though I hold the whole of Erebonia in the palm of my hand. But in reality, my position is far more tenuous. I have supporters and allies in the capital, certainly, but outside its walls, the nobilities hold far more sway than any of them. And while it is true I hold a great amount of power in the form of the Imperial Army, even then I only truly command around 70% of it. The remainder is loyal to the nobility, who also maintain their own private armies. With those factored in, my advantage shrinks substantially. So you see, I'm still very much in the midst of a battle to truly exert control. Which is why you're building railways all over the country to expand your area of influence. And you've been annexing new territory to that same end. As I've long thought, you clearly understand me better than anyone else. That's why I'll say this once again, work with me, Your Highness. With your support, our nation will be able to bring about real reform faster than ever. The noble faction, bloated with its century of decadence, can be stopped before they even begin the chance to unify against us. Surely that's what you desire more than anything. Let me just ask a simple question, Chancellor. What connection do you have with Ouroboros? I'm afraid I'm not quite sure what you're asking. I will say this, however, I'm a firm believer in using every resource at my disposal in the name of achieving reform. That's the way I believe in handling politics. I see. Well, it certainly does seem as though we would see eye to eye in many ways. And that's all the more reason why I'm afraid I must refuse your offer. Is that so? Yes, I find it difficult to like the rotten noble faction that exists in an empire. Or perhaps you're right that hate is the more appropriate word. But my feelings of fear towards your methods are far greater than my feelings of hatred towards the nobles. What you seem to be doing is trying to compel Erebonians with a delusive utopia to whip them into an enthusiastic frenzy. No doubt by successfully convincing the people, the old guard will fall into the metaphorical firestorm created. And yet by then, the gears will have already begun turning. There will be no satisfying a roused populace with a thirst for revolution. The storm will just keep growing larger and more ravenous, engulfing anything and everything in its wake. You know this, don't you, Chancellor? Well, of course. After all, that's what I intend to happen. It's the first stage of my reforms. I'd be more than happy to share further details with you, if you were to decide to work with me, Your Highness. In the meantime, I wish you well in strengthening your foothold back in the Empire. Of course, if that's your intention, you'll find it a necessity to work with those nobles you so despise. You truly do see everything, don't you? See through everything, rather. Well, it sounds like the noon bell. The airship should be arriving shortly. Which means it's time for me to take my leave, I'm afraid. I look forward to seeing you again in the capital in 2 weeks' time. I was gonna say, where's Mueller? Because this is like Mueller's door too. I take it the discussion's over then. What's wrong? You look awfully tired. Oh, nothing. I'm just feeling all the new at what a monster I decided to pick a fight with. Oh, we're back here. Oopsie, I think it's probably about time for the airship to arrive. I'm gonna have to stop you there and get going. What? See you, see. Next time I see you, I'll bring you some Erebonian salami as a souvenir, okay? I want some Erebonian salami. Wait, are you planning to just disappear without telling me anything a second time? Oh, got an important question for you. Did you fall in love with someone while I was away? Hit the nail on the head, huh? Oh, it's so cute. First love, right? Yeah, it's complicated. How's that feel? Heart all aflutter one minute, end of the world the next? Don't you dare start teasing me. But you're right, though, I did. He rejected me in this very spot not that long ago. Wait, you're joking, right? There's a coincidence I didn't see coming. I'm not so sure about that. It feels like you know everything sometimes. I'm not some kind of all-knowing, all-seeing divinity. That's what makes the world so interesting to me. Are you Reen? I'm happy for you, Chloe. Knowing the pain of lost love's what makes a girl blossom, in my humble opinion. Do you feel like the whole experience let you get a step closer to the person you wanted to be? Or want to be? Well, what about you? Do you feel like you're getting closer to becoming the person that you want to be? By being at the Chancellor's side. Kind of hard to do that when I don't have a person I want to be to begin with. I'm just sticking with him because it feels like it'll be fun. That's all. I've been doing it since before I joined the academy, in fact. You have? That prince is proving surprisingly capable, but he still isn't a match for the Chancellor. Tell him to watch his back, alright? So that he doesn't get swallowed up by that monster after he gets tired of dancing. This is definitely one of those doors that's like, oh. Goodbye, Lecter. This is definitely one of those doors that, like, adds to the Trails universe. It's like one of the relevant doors. Like, oh, yeah, like, this door really sets things up, especially Osborne. Thank you all for waiting. The Calabria International Airliner, yada yada. I've been reading enough. Yeah, setting up Osborne and this whole discussion between him and Olivier acts as a good bridge for the future. I imagine in Crossbell we'll probably see some of Osborne. Not only because Crossbell was mentioned, but also I can totally see that. Also, the word politics has a stronger impact in the Cold Steel game's narrative. Mostly two. So that was the Blood and Iron Chancellor. I can't believe he actually went out of his way to use a civilian airship when he probably has a private one of his own. I've heard rumors about how out of the ordinary he is, but he lives up to all of them. He keeps me on my toes, to put it playfully enough. Him aside, thanks for coming all this way to see me off, Shara. I was lucky I just happened to have business here at the same time. It feels like this is going to be the last chance we get to see each other for a while after all. Rather unfortunate, as my dream is and always was to live away my days in the lap of luxury surrounded by women as beautiful as you. Well, good luck with that. Changing the subject though, who was the young man at Chancellor's side? He didn't strike me as your ordinary guy. Oh, you could tell? But of course. I'd say I'm used to running into people who are out of the ordinary at this point. We sure have fought enough of them. His name's Lecter Arundel. He's a secretary who was sent here by the Imperial government. Apparently, he was the one who planned out all the details of the Chancellor's visit to Liberl. I can't pretend to know much regarding his background, but he's exceptionally skilled at what he does. Actually, I know a little. What? Oh, is that true? Yes. Unbelievable. Then, someone connected to the Chancellor had visited Liberl first. And he's very likely to have his own veritable information network established here long before I even came up with the idea. I think it's safe for us to assume that's the case, which also means it's safe to assume that he knows every detail about all that's happened here since. From the coup d'etat to the crisis regarding the Aureole, all of it. This man gets more unbelievable by the minute. He actually gave me a message to pass on to you earlier. Watch your back so you don't get swallowed up by that monster when you get tired of dancing. He sure knows how to sting where it hurts, doesn't he? Haha, I feel like I can see a whole new world of pleasure opening up before my eyes. You should know better. Getting outdone at every turn like this is not really my style. What do you mean? Captain Schwartz, I have a little favor I'd like to ask for when we're in the air.